Good afternoon, BookTube. It's Tony here from Locks to Reads. Coming at you, sounding like an 80s DJ, with an update on my reading. I'm in the middle of many things, which is why I did finish up the line to death, and there's a long review on the channel of that, including some poetry reading from me. That's something I'm gonna try and get better at as this channel grows. Depending on how much poetry I'll be reviewing, I will talk about what I'm going to do on the channel a bit later. So where are we? So I'm reading, as I said, the twins of Bid Me to Live by HD and Richard Aldington's Up the no, I was about to see the same title. Richard Aldington's Death of a Hero. Now, what I'd forgotten about Bid Me to Live is how sort of experimental it is. It's definitely a modernist novel, but it's a very experimental modernist novel. It compared to Richard Aldington's book, which is quite a straightforward and cynical, bitter perhaps book about his experiences in World War One. This is a bit more free form and interesting. I mean, let me just read you the first paragraph to give you an example. Here we go. So it goes, "Oh, the times, oh, the customs, oh, indeed, the times, the customs, their own specifically, but part and parcel of the cosmic, comic, crucifying times of history. Times liberated, set whirling out, moded romanticism. Punch and Judy dance with Jocasta and Philoctetes, while wrestlers, sprawling in an Uffizi or a pity, flung garish horizon blue across gallant and idiotic Philippicisms. It was a time of isms and the ballet." There you go. It's an I mean, I really like this book the first time I read it, and I'm enjoying it as much now. And I'm enjoying the Richard Aldington book, but this is kind of it is a different kind of book. It is World War One related, but it also, as I said before, it's as much about her trying to find her way as an artist, and how her life and her art are mixed together. HD was very much a classicist as well. I mean, you could tell by the references to ancient Greece in that, and the Renaissance in that first paragraph. But I'm really enjoying this again. I'm looking forward to finishing it, and Aldington. I'm also reading the Images Poet collection by Oxford World Classic. I think it's Oxford World Classic. Was it Penguin? But anyway, there's an Imagist poetry collection, which I am currently reworking my way through as well. The Imagists were sort of Aldington and HD were both considered Imagist poets. Sometimes you do wonder with terms in English literature whether they're just with anybody, like who coins these terms and why they last. Like sometimes you hear Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and etc. referred to as the Oxford poet, and you think, I don't think they'd ever have thought of themselves like that. But I suppose it's a way, an academic shorthand, to help you understand what you're dealing with. I'm also a chunk further in, and I'm pulling this out. Oh, careful. With Edmund Blunden's biography, which is really well written. It does a good job as well of mixing Blunden's poetry in with the story of his life. So it's a poetry collection as much as it is a biography. The writing is great. I've finished his childhood. He had a sort of idyllic childhood by the sound of it. I mean, his dad was a schoolmaster, but was always in debt, and they moved around a lot. But they lived in villages in southern England that sound. I mean, it's almost like a fantasy version of late 19th century, early 20th century England, which of course 1914 is about to bring to an end. One of the villages there is an Edmund Blunden Lane, which is the village where he grew up. I think grew up the most, or was there for the longest. Um, so at some point, I'd like to do a visit and see. There are a few sites. I should do a video on things I'd like, places I'd like to go, apart from the obvious World War I battlefields, but places in England where I'd like to go and visit. Now I've also um, decided to reread Henry Barbuse's Under Fire, which I think was probably the first sort of book about World War I to come out. It was actually published, I think, in 1917 in France. Obviously, Henri Barbusse is French, and this is a translation. I'm trying to see what it was translated by. This is an old copy, so the days when you didn't put the translator's name on the cover. Which they still don't do, by the way. Little bugbear of mine. Put the translator's name on the cover. It's only polite. Robin Buss's translation for Penguin Modern Classics. This is an old copy, though. It's an ex-library copy that I found at second hand. Excuse the cough. So there. That's where I am. And obviously I'm working my way through in parenthesis. Still, which is great because it's a good little... I'm enjoying that as well. I find new things in it every time. Look at me being on video with them not being on video for a whole second. I find new things in it every time I read it, and I am looking forward to finishing it again and sort of putting my notes together and thinking about what I've learned this time from in parenthesis. So that's where I am in terms of what I'm reading. I have an annoying habit of getting distracted and going down rabbit holes and reading things that I shouldn't be reading. But so far, I've stuck to my guns. I probably will finish Bid Me to Live and Death of a Hero at some point this week, and then I'll do a video about them. I'm going to probably do a video later this week as well on some of the non-fiction that I've read over time and make some maybe like a top 10 recommendations video of books about World War One, like history, more history than the poetry. So I think that's definitely going to happen. Now, one of the things I've decided with this channel, the future of this channel, obviously from November it won't be World War One. Well, it won't just be World War One. There might be some other work. I usually save my World War One reading till November. So what I'll probably do, one reading project I've decided on is I'm 54 in January, and I decided I'm going to read a book from every year of my life, going back to 1971, and I've drawn up the list. The criteria for it is it had to be a book I'd not read before, so no rereads. It had to be a book I owned, so because I didn't want to buy any books for the list, and then and it had to be a novel. I didn't want to do. I did and ah about doing non-fiction and poetry, but I just thought stick to novels. It's going to be easier in the long run. So I will be doing videos on that reading project next year. I don't know how I'm going to do that, whether to do with individual reviews or multiple reviews, depending on how fast I read things. The books are really the selection seems to come out as a mostly like literary fiction and translated fiction and science fiction and fantasy. So I know that the algorithm on YouTube kind of tries to force you into boxes, and I refuse to be put into a box. He says melodramatically, not because I have any strong opinions about it. It's just that it's not the way I read. So this channel was never going to be a one topic. At the moment, it's a one topic channel, but going forward, it was never going to be that. I said it's going to lean. It's going to probably lean. There's going to be a lot more non-fiction poetry, but there'll also be fiction, and it'll be fiction from different genres. So I think sod the algorithm, and it's not like this channel is going to get millions of viewers either. Anyway, whatever I do, so I think stick to your guns, and read what you would read as you would normally read. I'm sort of doing some 2025 reading planning as we speak. Because I was thinking about it in terms of like how I was watching videos on how people organise their libraries, and I was thinking my ideal organisation would probably be a sort of fiction in alphabetical order by author, but non-fiction next to relevant fiction. So if say you put all of Dickens on together, all the novels of Dickens, and then Dickens biographies, Dickens autobiographies, you put and relevant sort of stuff next to them. So non-fiction gets scattered around a bit more, and history, you put the relevant like German history together, um, or you spread it. I mean, it's something I was thinking about. I'm not going to do it because, as you can see, there are millions of books in here, and well, millions is an exaggeration. There are hundreds of books in here, and the prospect of organising them, reorganising them in any order, is currently a nightmare. I am half considering doing a birthday thing where I invite some friends over and have some beer and we reorganise my library, but that's a very selfish thing to do on your birthday, even though it's a day to be selfish. So that's where we are in terms of the reading. I will be carrying on. So the next update will be whenever. But I just wanted to make sure it's been a couple of days since I did my last video, so I just wanted to keep things ticking along. Um, if anybody has any suggestions for other books to read, particularly First World War stuff, it won't necessarily get done this month, obviously, but for next year's Remembrance reads, I'd be very grateful. Thanks for the support of people who've been commenting and liking. It's nice to know that at least somebody's watching and enjoying it. And hopefully, I'll get better at this as we go on. Could be possible that I won't, but we like to hope here on this channel. Like using the royal we there, like I'm like some kind of superstar. I would like to think things will improve. I have been kindly sent by a friend a microphone, so that hopefully the sound will improve. I haven't had a chance to test it yet, and I did this video with on the spur of the moment, so I didn't want to do it and then have to re-record it. So I will test that, and then probably the next video we will do with a new microphone. At some point, I'd like to get a camera, and at some point, I need to learn how to edit. Because as I said, I am reading a lot of books on Kindle, and I would really like to be able to put the book covers in the video as I go along. It's probably simple and straightforward, so I probably just need to sit down and learn how to do it. Anyway, I'm rambling now in a very bad way, so let's stop there. Have a good day, have a good week, and I will speak to you anon. Goodbye, YouTube.